It's exactly 7 o'clock. I'm just going to give it a few more minutes before we start officially, but I think it's quite a good time just to say a few thank yous in advance, and then if we don't have time at the end, well, at least we've done them at the beginning. So thank you to Arts Council England and National Lottery Community Fund for funding tonight. Without that support, tonight couldn't take place, so we really do very much appreciate it, and appreciate the fact that we're now on new funding, so we've got guaranteed funding for both the clubs programme and the events programme for the next 3 years, well, including this one. But I think, you know, that's great news for everybody and great news for the team. We're going to have 3 new team members, of whom Samantha, who's here tonight, is the first person to start and has just started this week. So when those of you who meet Samantha, traditional together welcome, we're very, very pleased to see her. Right, so my other thank yous are, of course, to the wonderful Chris Burrow, our British Sign Language interpreter, to Norma McKay from Global Real-Time Captioning, who's providing the captions. And this is a good time to say, if you want to use the captions, you can click on CC, which on my screen seems to move around. Sometimes it's on the bottom right hand corner, sometimes it's under more. For some of you, it's going to be under 3 dots at the top, and for some of you, it will be somewhere else entirely. So you should be able to click on that to get the CC. Is it possible, Norma, to put a link in the chat for the transcript, or has that gone in and I've missed it?
I've popped it in there now, Ju.
Brilliant. And here's Margaret. Great to see you, Margaret. So yes, if you're somebody who prefers to see the captions as a separate stream, then just follow the link in the chat. Otherwise, you can get the captions up at the bottom of the screen. And the last thank you I want to say for now is my PA, Emily Welsh, who is off camera pressing buttons, as always, often without thank yous, because I forget to say thank you by the end. But Emily, we all really appreciate the button pushing and everything else that you're doing. So let's bring on Act Up Newham. Welcome to Act Up Newham, and I thought, Hannah, I would just start with a few words that we haven't perhaps rehearsed before we get into the rehearsed bit, just while we're waiting for a few more people to join us. Act Up Newham are officially Together 2012 CIC's associate drama company, and they've been our associate drama company since we first got funding from the Arts Council, because that was the point when we actually had some money. But I've seen Act Up Newham from 2012 onwards and loved them from the beginning. I think it's true to say. I think it's possibly also true to say saw potential that perhaps even the company didn't see. But as I was saying to them a little while ago, they are quite genuinely the most professional artists that I work with, year in, year out. They make work mostly from lived experience. They're equally at home popping up in a community centre or on a big West End stage. I'm really delighted that this year they agreed to take on, well, all of your projects tend to tackle difficult subjects in very kind of accessible, inclusive, engaging ways. But I think the subject of the transatlantic trade in enslaved African peoples is something that still carries so much emotional weight and grief that I'd also like to thank you for accepting that challenge, because it was a difficult thing to do. And I don't know who remembers being with us last, pretty much this time last year. It doesn't seem half so long ago, but we presented our Sugar Globe project, and I've put a link in the chat to the Sugar Globe project. And this is very much the second stage of the Sugar Globe project, but it's not something that's going to end. We want to keep embedding this really important issue in our work in different ways and really trying to raise awareness, and you know, again, hopefully also through the recording of this show. So thank you, ACT UP. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Hannah Facey, who I'm not quite sure exactly what title Hannah uses, but I would say facilitator is just the start of it. And Hannah is going to explain more about what you're going to see tonight. And then each of the company is going to take it in turns to tell you a little bit about the research and development and the production. Then we're going to watch a film, and then we're going to have another chat with the company. So if you've got any questions, you can put them in the chat. Any thoughts as things go along, just put them in the chat. If it's easier for you to speak, that's not a problem. We can turn you into a panelist and you can switch your camera and microphone on, but we'll do that after the film. So I'll ask people to just signal after the film if they'd rather speak on camera or whether they'd rather use the chat. So now I'm going to, in fact, switch myself off for a little bit. Thanks, Emily, and hand over to Hannah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Hannah. I'm the facilitator of ACT UP Newham. So we'll go through and tell everybody's names.
I'm Grace.
What's your name? Sarah. And
I'm Glory.
I'm Kaiser.
and we have two members missing tonight. We have Jade and Awa. I'm going to pass you over to the ACT UPers to tell you all about the project, and the first person who will tell you is Awa, who is not here, so she has made a film, and Awa is going to talk about the preparation and the way we educated ourselves to do this project. So I'm going to share the screen.
We needed to know exactly for this project. We went to the Museum of London, Scotland, to an edition and exhibition. It's very interesting because I didn't know how people were treated in the olden days. I found it very interesting to see the list of sages on the wall and how many people were on each one. It was very interesting because there was so many going from down here where I was from, and the Caribbean, that is where JPA is from, and it made me feel like we are connected.
So the next person to present is you, British. So,
Yeah,
just tell me your name, right?
I am British.
And you're going to tell about the next field trip we did. So we
Went bus
to the
museum,
so we went on the bus to the museum to
watch
the,
group
and where was the museum? The museum in
Greenwich.
and
Walk
you walked and looked at the
dome,
globes.
gum,
And they were
beautiful,
beautiful, and they were
painting,
and
walking,
walked and
see,
so you walked and saw
painting.
the paintings. And what were your favorite paintings? We liked the painting of
London.
London and the painting on the globe of the
Children.
children on the
Boat.
and the painting
Painting.
of
Sing.
the singers.
Hmm.
And how was the day?
Fantastic.
It was fantastic. Great. And now we're going to go over to the film by Jade, who also couldn't be here tonight, who will tell us more about going to see the globes in Greenwich from the World Reimagined project, which is what led us to this whole topic in the first place.
Hi, I'm Jan,
I like going to the
and I like going to the different expeditions
and learning about the real
and learning about the real history of slavery
and how slaves were taken from African countries.
and how slaves were taken from African countries.
In history, we learn the basics.
In history, at school, we learn the basics,
But it doesn't go into the depths of what really happened.
but it doesn't go into the depths of what really happened.
I didn't realise how London was built.
I didn't realise how London was built
From the money they got from sugar.
from the money they took from sugar,
Which came from the hard work
which came from the hard work
of black slaves.
of black slaves.
My favourite one of the globes that we saw
My favorite one of the globes
that we saw
that we saw
was a picture of black hands
was a picture of black hands
holding up London.
holding up London.
Because without slavery,
Because without slavery,
London wouldn't be so rich.
London wouldn't be so rich
And built up as it is.
and built up as it is.
And now we have Paiza, who will tell us more about the third field trip that we went on.
I'm Paiza. I would like to tell you how we got the community involved in our project. Our third trip was to the field for a community barbecue created by the mayor Sadiq Khan. It was in an allotment, a vegetable garden. Many residents came for the community discussion about making a new statue by the Museum of London in Docklands in memory of slaves that we listened about. Then we worked together to make a poem about what we learned. We shared our ideas and discuss. Each of us wrote 3 parts of the whole poem.
Great.
Next.
Thank you, Paiza. And now
Yes,
I'm going to
Glory.
pass you to Glory, who is going to tell us about how we used sugar in our film.
Hello. Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen at home. My name is Glory Sango. I'm going to tell you about the sugar used for our film. I went to the shop and bought jelly babies, a cake, donuts, jelly mixture, and a bag of sugar. We ate in the film. I love sugar because it is tasty, but we don't eat it all because Hannah said then we would be sick and vomit.
So we didn't eat it all, but we did use a lot of the sugar in the film, right?
Yes.
Great. Thank you,
Yes.
Glory.
Yes.
And then no, the next one is not Sarah. And Sarah, Glory spoke about eating the sugar, and you can tell about what else we did. So, hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm going to tell you about the signs about the film and the show we made. And we did paintings with sugar. And we made lots of things out of sugar. So we all made a poo. We were like we were writing in a book, and also a boat. And also we did paintings of lots of people. And our was eating a cake, a birthday cake, and her face was all dirty and disgusting. And we were painting with the sugar, and on the table, it was all disgusting, and we all had to clean it up. And now you're done. Great.
Next is
Next,
yes.
we have Grace to tell us about the filming.
Hi, my name is Grace Fundle. I'm going to talk about the filming. We all took time to filming and also the lights, and it was very complicated because we had to sort the props and we had to do the lights and making sure the camera was on focus. And also what was very difficult was that while we was doing the painting, we had to keep while we was doing the painting, we had to keep the camera still. That was the most difficult bit to do. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Grace. Now let's just get everyone back in, including me. Great. So now we've finished all the presentations. You know a bit of the backstory of how we made it. We're going to present our new film, which is
Is
Anything for something
sweet.
We would do anything for something sweet.
Donuts. jelly babies, dolly mixture, finger bun, and finally, birthday cake. It's all good for me to eat. I like that taste.
One, two, three. Sugar in my tea makes me
Happy. Who ate all
the
chocolate? Me. I like it. That's wonderful.
I'm pancakes in fine dough and sugar. No one will like it. It needs to taste sweet.
Everyone wants sugar. We are very lucky to be surrounded by sweet things.
The sweetness of sugar fills up your senses. With excitement and bliss.
Too much sugar. Sugar in everything we eat. We would do anything for something to eat.
Left no sugar. Sugar from stick. Make London rich.
性感from black people being turned out on them till them blonde one sugar.
They didn't have their freedom. Mistreated, abused, and owned by white people who took them from their homes.
Taken from Africa, taken and chained. Suffer in silence because white people love sugar.
In the boat over the sea.
Oh,
Cold and
oh yeah.
sad and
Key.
Forced to work cutting down sticks. Treating them badly. If they stop for a minute, they'll get whipped.
Overlooked their humanity. And didn't care that they have stolen people. And turned them into slaves.
Sugar 40. Everyone should love sugar. Love you and me.
Didn't care where we came from. White people wanting sugar. They will do anything for something sweet. Don't eat sugar, it makes them safe. Winning protecting that we are all the same.
On the
Boat.
boat to
No.
bringing sugar for
Eat.
all the people to
Eat.
coming to
Oh.
all of our
Oh.
home in
Eat.
East
No.
London.
London was built from sugar that was made by slaves. Without the abuse of black people, what would London be?
So tomorrow, when you
When
Wake up in the
mommy put sugar in tea.
Do you think about the history? We think we should remember.
Black people bled and died for sugar.
To make it nice and sweet.
Thank you, ACT UP Newham, and I hope you can see the love and the congratulations and the support that's coming through on the screen. Do you want to take yourself off mute, Hannah?
yes, we can't really see because we're all so many to one laptop. So maybe some comments read out would be good.
I'm certainly going to start with that. So yes, I think, tell me if I'm wrong, Margaret, that the Margaret to everyone who says that was fantastic is actually our very own Margaret Spence, who's currently in the Caribbean. It has to be said, with great serendipity. And Margaret was our lead artist on the Sugar Globe project last year. And indeed, a new director of Together 2012. So it's great, if that's you, Margaret, that you've actually managed to get here all the way. Renee Wallen says, wow, a very powerful film, fantastic. Jane Marjoram says, I loved your words and picture making with sugar, especially your recreation of the notorious slave ship Brooks. Very powerful images. What made you think of doing this? And I'm going to come back to the rest of the chat. Let's just start with that. What made you think of using the sugar to create the ship and the people?
Yeah, Glory, what made you think of using the sugar and the jelly babies?
Because it was very tasty. Then I've just tasted the chocolate cake and I thought that it was very nice.
So Glory was the person that really wanted to use sugar, actual sugar in the film. And he went to the shop and for us and chose the different things that we could use. And then we you guys came up with ideas based on what Glory brought. So yeah, it was kind of, let's see what Glory brings, and then we would come up with what we come up with from that.
And did the ship image presumably came from seeing all the ships at the beginning and that Awa was talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So when we went to the museum, everyone split up, right? And you all went around to look for kind of different images and yeah.
I think, and Margaret says that's right. She's in Jamaica right now. And what Margaret, with a little bit of help, but not much from me, did last year was use sugar to model with. So so the Sugar Globe is a sort of almost like a Christmas globe. So that the globe we made, the scene is inside, and it's a group of us outside our community centre before 2020. Oh. So it's lovely to see you being much more kind of abstract, and yeah, I thought it was a great use of sugar as a material. And I think we have to keep, as part of our work around sugar and the transatlantic slaving transatlantic trade in enslaved African peoples, then I think we should carry on using sugar as an art material as well. So I'm going to pick up a few more comments now. Kate Rollison says it was so powerful, the stark sugar against the black background, and the sugar ship filled with jelly baby people was particularly powerful. Yeah, I found all of that work with the sugar really powerful. Sheila says that was a great film. Julie Newman, our chair, says, wow, that was really good. The sugar drawing was so powerful. And Francis Ansell also says very powerful. And Yvonne says, great film. The images using sugar are so well created. I can really see, Grace, I'm just going to stop here and ask another couple of questions, why you were talking about the challenges of the photography. And I also really liked where the bit where you had the ship and the camera was moving as well. Do you, any of you want to say, or Grace, a bit more about the camera work?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite challenging because, you know, because of the position and the lighting, we have to, you know, keep the camera still for it to be focused and, you know, for it to be on point. That was the most challenging thing to do.
And you found it quite hard as well, didn't you, Grace? Because people had to reach to do the sugar drawing. So Grace, as you were saying, I need to film him, and people also need to draw. So it was quite
well, you were actually well, what you were doing very successfully, I thought, was recreating what's known as a rostrum camera. And a rostrum camera is very kind of heavily mounted, and it's comes straight down, so it's almost like a ceiling type mount, and you can program it to do different things. And you were doing all of that handheld, so you know, and keeping it in focus. So I thought that was absolutely great. Angus Davies says the evolution of pets, I'm not sure I've understood that properly, but was impressive. And Yvonne says, I will definitely think more of the history now. Margaret says ACT UP members have done a fantastic job in the film. And Angus said, I meant plot. Thank you, Angus. I've just got. But yes, I thought the evolution of the plot was impressive, and I thought it got more and more chilling and really made me think about the issues. Judy says, can Grace tell us how she managed to keep the camera steady?
Well, everybody took turns filming, not just Grace, but yeah, anyone or Grace, how did we manage to keep the camera steady?
Well, we just had to. Well, I just had to hold it still, and for it to stay focused. That's what I had to do, really.
Anyone else want to tell about holding the camera?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Yeah, while I was holding the camera to fix it, then how they're getting on, like to fix the ship. Well,
they were drawing the ship, you were holding the camera.
Drawing the ship while it's flying away in the water.
So are you saying that the sugar was flying away? Yeah,
that was sugar was flying.
There was a lot of sugar flying away as well, which made it a bit difficult to film. Mama.
I think it must have been so technically challenging, and of course it was made to look very easy. Margaret says, yes, it would be great to continue using sugar as a medium in future. It's a continued history that will be around for a good while. We've put a link quite early on in the chat to the Sugar Globe web pages, where there's lots and lots of information, but there's also photos of the Sugar Globe. And there's links to some fine artists who use sugar as a material in their art. So you can actually, and we'll keep at, you know, we're going to be adding this film in. We're going to be developing that Sugar Globe website. So there's lots and lots of information there. I'm going to go back to the comments about the film. Angus was saying the stop frame stuff was good. And I wondered, did anybody want to talk about how you did that? I mean, did you literally just keep pausing the camera, or?
I think maybe some qualification of what he means by stop frame might help, because I think people were not completely understanding.
Oh, right. It's where the sugar looked like it was animated. So the jelly babies, you know, sometimes you were putting the jelly babies down, but sometimes the jelly babies just appeared. I think you were doing it without even thinking about it, actually, but it was impressive.
I think that was when that was when someone else would like get it ready and then the person would come and film.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you filmed everyone putting it on, like Sarah, you were putting the sugar in the tea, but sometimes you put it all and then you pressed play, record, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, well, Julie says she agrees with Angus, stop frame is difficult. And Renee said, I thought that was very impressive too, the jelly babies. And Hassan said, and again, I agree with this, I loved the use of silence in the film. It gave lots of space for reflection of such a heavy history. And I mean, was that a deliberate decision from the beginning, or was it how the film evolved?
Sarah, at first, what did we want? We wanted some music, but then I don't know, everyone was thinking about it and nothing seemed appropriate. No one could choose or think of what would be appropriate. So it kind of evolved as part of, yeah.
The
I
whole
sometimes-
filming process was really focused for the outcome, all about sugar slavery, the development, the transportation, the use of sugar, and how people need sugar. And we were using very basic props. For example, just black cloth to put on the floor. And then we used simple items. We didn't spend a lot of money really on props. It was very, very simple. What we focus is just to get the right outcome.
Well, you certainly managed that. Julie says, I also thought using the sugar canes was really good. It took everything back to the basic.
Yes.
I'm interested, how many of you had seen sugarcane before?
Who has seen sugarcane before? You have?
Yeah,
Have any of you seen sugarcane?
I haven't seen sugarcane. I mean, I never knew how sugarcane looks like back then. I never knew, but when I saw it, I was like, oh wow, that's how it looks like now. That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I came from Malaysia. Every house have got a sugarcane plantation, either in the front of their gate to symbolize sweetness to welcome visitors, or we have it all around the house. It's not a big tree, it's just like 6-7 branches of sugar cane. And then as we eat it, as it turns a little bit golden brown, at the beginning it will be very thin and green, but it grows taller and become golden brown. That's where we cut it, and we used to eat just with the hand, and with our teeth we bite the skin out.
We actually had a lot of trouble finding sugarcane because Pisa was looking around the market and they didn't have any. And then Glory, you went on the bike, didn't you?
With Harry.
Yeah, to get sugarcane. And they would only sell it as a drink and not as a full cane. So eventually, Sarah, we found it, didn't we? We cycled to the shop. There's a Caribbean shop down our road, and then we found it eventually.
I thought you'd find it in Newham, but so Margaret is saying, I can currently see growth in the garden of the house I'm staying. Sugarcane growing up. I could show you on camera. Yeah, so did we. Jane Marjoram said, I liked the use of the sugarcane as a prop, and it was moving when the canes became the prison bars. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just think everything you did with the sugar and the actions just said more than 1,000 words, you know, so, as they say. Angus is saying Pisa's stories were great. And yes, we'd always love to hear more of your stories, Pisa, should you choose to share them. I'm really interested in the idea that it's about being sweet and bringing luck, because last year we just started on that journey of looking at all the ways that sugar has been, you know, we've been told, oh, sweet like sugar, you know, be sweet, oh, it's so sweet, she's so sweet. And what does that actually mean? Oh, it's really addictive and it's terribly bad for you, but you know, we've managed to kind of make you completely dependent on it. Right, I'm going to just look for some other comments. And if anybody else would like to make a point, please put it in the chat. Angus is saying sweetheart. Yes, exactly. You are my sweetheart. Oh, she's so sweet. Yeah, there's plenty more on the webpage, but I think there's plenty more that we could be saying. So, you know, yeah, let's keep thinking about where this project is going to go next. I very much hope that ACT UP Newham, as well as Margaret, continue to be part of the future. Margaret is saying, well done, everyone. I think we'd all like to echo that. I'm just going to skid back in case I've missed any messages. Somebody says they drew what they were explaining, which was very nice. And I think that's right. I think everything kind of came together. And it was really helpful to have the context at the beginning as well with the introductions. Oh, now this is a good question from Yvonne. What was each actor's favourite part?
Oh, let's go around and ask Kaiser, what was your favourite part of the project?
The visit to the museum in Greenwich, where we could see where sugarcane came from and how they were transported to our country and how we enjoy the sweet, not thinking how hard work has been involved to bring over the sugar.
What was your favourite part of the project, Glory?
My favourite part of the project is that we were eating the sugar.
Yeah.
Surprised me, Glory, because I
Yes, yeah, I'm surprising you, Jude.
Sarah says.
say when you were part of our youth project and we were at Vicarage Lane and you would come into, I don't remember how, I think you were allowed a maximum of 6 spoonfuls of sugar, was that right?
Yes, it was right, but I only have four sugars on my tea.
No.
Now.
Now we're all adults.
Yes, we are all adults.
And Sarah was saying that she doesn't like sugar. She likes eating pasta instead.
I do.
Yeah, you prefer pasta. She doesn't like sugar. Sarah, what was your favourite thing that you did? It was making the film and doing the signs for the poem? Great. And anything else? You like going out on the bus to look at things? Great.
Hannah, did you want to before we get to Pritesh, do you just
It's okay, I'm going to get them back.
Hannah, do you want to explain how it was a summer project?
Coming back. There.
Oh, I'm not sure you could hear us. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Sorry. Okay, Pritesh, your favourite part of the whole project? Oh, you like going to the museum?
Yeah.
It was like a palace.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And what did you like in the museum?
Well,
The big globes.
groups.
Yeah. What did you think about them?
Fantastic.
They were fantastic to see them. Great. And Grace.
My favorite part is the globe and also the filming. Come on. I mean, the filming was better and the camera was hard, but that was my favorite. That was my favorite part.
Great.
And there's another question, Hannah, which again for each of the company members, which was what shocked or upset people the most, because it was such, you know, what Jane's saying is it was such a difficult topic and you dealt with it so well, but it must have been a very difficult process. You know, what was the most difficult thing to deal with?
So,
I think you've just gone on mute, Hannah.
yep, we're back.
The most difficult thing was that because back then, you know how Black people was treated and how they were treated how they were treated like a slave. That to me, that was very upsetting because it's like, because sometimes I wonder, why do we have to go through this, or what was the main reason why? Or, you know, sometimes I ask all these questions because even though I wasn't born there and I wasn't in their shoes, but from when I learn these things, from when I go to museum, it's like sometimes I wonder, why do people get treated like this? What was the main reason? Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah, what did you find bad or difficult?
I do find difficult of the something like, was it like?
So what, from what you learned?
Yeah, what I've learned
What-
by the sugarcane, then it's very difficult to open it so that we could break it into pieces.
Oh yeah, we were, are you talking about when we went to the museum and
Yeah,
there was a whole
yeah.
exhibition about how it was hurt people's hands?
Exhibition in museum.
And then, yeah, I know it was, Glory's talking about how there was in the exhibition, there was about how blood would run from people's hands. And
It was very hurtful them. They're trying to get themselves cut on the hands.
they would get cut on the hands and they were having to work very long hours, yeah.
Yeah,
No, in your bed. Come on. Yeah, good.
yeah.
And that was where a lot of people were, I think, several of you came up with the idea of like blood running sugar and stuff. That was a
Running
part of the
sugar, yes.
exhibition. Yeah, anyone else want to say what was difficult to learn about? Pfizer? Or
Well,
Stella?
I still feel that the process of reducing sugar is not easy. They have to clear the land in the hot sun. They have to plant the baby shoot of the sugar cane, wait till it grows up, and then harvest them, process them with the machine. And those days they don't have the up-to-date equipment and machinery for threshing the sugar cane to make into sugar, but they have to beat them, and they use a lot of energy in the hot sun to beat the sugar cane, the pulp, to get the pulp and to get the sugar, and then process it into the pure sugar that reach our home.
And Stella, you were saying it was sad on the boat because they were very cold and sad, and they were getting, and people were getting sick. You were sad about when you did that part of the poem. Pritesh, do you have anything to say?
No.
Okay.
Yvonne was saying that she remembered you talking about there's a statue in front of the museum at the moment, and did you want to say anything about that? I think she means the Museum of London Docklands. I think, is there still a statue of a slave trader outside, or there certainly used to be?
They used to be, but they took it down.
Yeah, when we went there, we actually took a photo of all of us there in front of the empty plinth because they've taken it down. But just the week that we happened to be researching this and creating, we were invited to a local community discussion, and Sadiq Khan has been running community discussions all around the different boroughs of London about what there should be a replacement statue in memory of the enslaved peoples. And yeah, we went to listen to that discussion, didn't we?
Mhm.
Yeah, and I thought is it Pizer who talked about it? I
Yes.
thought really interesting because of course
Yeah, we should have the statue so that the younger generation will learn about it and research about the origin of how sugar come to our country, and how all the hard work that were involved in producing sugar.
And what we did find from the barbecue, though, is that it wasn't very it was supposed to be a community discussion, but it wasn't very accessible. So a lot of the times people were putting up during protest, we put our hand up a lot and you said, I don't understand what you're saying.
And
you
they were
were saying,
talking too fast, and the man that was talking, he didn't really elaborate it a bit more, or he didn't break it down.
and yeah, he was using very long words.
Yeah.
He was using very long words, which was unnecessary. It was very academic. So yeah, we definitely thought that it would be better to have something like the film and then introducing the topic, because yeah.
Yeah, and to just let everybody know, the recording of this evening is going to be on YouTube, but also the film itself will be on ACT UP's YouTube channel, and that will be one of the memorials. I'm just going to finish with a couple of comments from the chat. Julie Newman, who's also our chair, says, I can remember when sugar was rationed after the war in this country. It became even more valuable, but it was strange because the real cost was never mentioned. And I think all of us are just beginning to be on this journey of understanding the real cost, and understanding the real cost today, because as we discussed, and Margaret spoke very powerfully about last year, within Britain, or within the United Kingdom, we're consuming more sugar in kind of more unhealthy ways than just about anybody else in the world, because we were deliberately made dependent on sugar, and that's part of that legacy. But the people whose health it's impacting on most are people of colour. You know, and you've only got to look at the statistics, and Margaret and other speakers brought them up last year, around diabetes, which of course also causes all sorts of other health problems like visual problems and amputations. And all of that we can trace back directly to the sugar trade. And Newham, with Tate and Lyle bubbling away still down in the docks, you know, if we're not asking those questions, who are? You know, who is going to ask the questions if we don't? So we're coming up to 8 o'clock, and as everybody who knows us knows, we always like to finish on time. Margaret says that she's so glad to be able to see this project even while she's in Jamaica, and I think we're just thrilled that Margaret's watching it from Jamaica, and we're managing to make that connection with Jamaica through Margaret tonight. Lucy Shaw says, thank you to all of the artists for sharing your film and speaking about experiences in making it. Renee Wallen says, thank you very much. Samantha Clark says, thank you. Angus has put various comments in the chat, but he says Jade's line about slaves bleeding sugar was very thought-provoking. Kate Rollison is saying, thank you, ACT UP. Francis saying thank you everyone. Judy Newman is saying a brilliant evening, thank you. And I'm sure everybody would carry on, but I am going to say it's 8 o'clock. So thank you again to Arts Council England and National Lottery Community Fund for their support. Thank you to Chris Burrow from Burrow Interpreting for the British Sign Language interpretation. Thank you to Norman McKay from Global Real-Time Captioning for the captions. Thank you to Emily Welsh, my PA, pressing buttons behind the screen. And most of all, thanks to all of you for coming, and a huge thank you to ACT UP Newham. I couldn't be more delighted that they're our associate drama company. So see it at Newham, but there's still lots more. Thumbs up, hearts and waves, and I'm going to give you a big wave and sign off for tonight.
Thank you.
12. Bye.